police beating leaves Port General doctor partially deaf. Calls for women to make their voices heard by voting. And confident Prime Minister says calls for change in policies hot air politics.
This is National EMTV News with Miriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Friday's news. A medical doctor doing his residency at the Port Moresby General Hospital labour ward was beaten by policemen on Wednesday night. The young doctor will not be assisting mothers and babies in the labour ward because his eyes are completely shut and he has become partially deaf as a result of the beating. Senior doctors say there is a shortage of doctors working with mothers and babies. Dr. Newman's inability to work will cause complications at the labour ward. Bethany Harriman reports.
This morning, Professor Ikau Kevau, Dr. Osborne Leko and other senior doctors condemned the beating of the young doctor. Senior doctors collectively demanded action from the police commissioner and his deputies. They've made the call after one of their own was badly beaten by cops in Tokarara.
And they, 6 or 7 men, threw their punches around me, clenched fist, and I lost my consciousness. I fell to the coulter, and later somebody kicked me hard on my right ear, and then they pulled me up, and then they told me to get to the Land Cruiser wire back. And when I was inside there, I was taken down to Wangani police station. While I was at Wangani police station, they questioned me.
Dr. Newman is now nursing serious injuries which will stop him from working at the labour ward. He is part of a team of young doctors being trained to save the lives of mothers and babies. But after the beating, he is deaf in the right ear and his eyes are completely shut. The injuries could become permanent.
My right ear is not working anymore. I cannot see with my right eyes. They are all covered. So I don't know why I'm beaten up. I'm a young doctor. I have to contribute to the health of this nation. I chose this career path to serve the people, including the police, army, and even the poor, everybody down the line. I chose this career path so that I can serve the people of this country.
Dr. Newman told MTV he was taken to Waigani police station where a policeman told him he could pick up his car in the morning after he pays the boys.
They told me, you go home, go and wash your face, treat yourself, and come back and get your vehicle tomorrow. You bring some money and give it to the boys here, the police officers here, and take your car back.
Senior doctors at Port Moresby's General Hospital say the matter will not be taken lightly. It will be taken to the police commissioner. Something has to be done. Doctors are respected in society for their services to health. The incident has brought disgrace to the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary. Members of the public have gone on social media outraged by the actions of a few policemen, tarnishing the reputation of the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News.
Police Commissioner Gary Baki is yet to respond to a text message sent to him regarding the actions of these policemen. Francis Essie was a lecturer at the University of Papua New Guinea in 2014 when he was also badly beaten up by police. He was left fighting for his life 4 years ago and made headlines calling for justice. The former UPNG business lecturer, who has been out of job since the incident, is still pushing to have the 3 particular police officers who left him with a fractured skull stripped of their jobs. One of the police officers involved in his beating has been arrested and charged on 3 counts of abuse of office, attempted murder and theft.
Opened the door and the boys were opened the doors and we all walked out and rushed through and checked the beer, but there's no beer, the vehicle.
That was 3 years ago, after Francis Essie came out from surgery to reconstruct his fractured skull. In October 2014, Francis and his nephews were at Manu service station when 3 police officers attacked him.
You tell us the offense we commit. Just a simple action. That policeman that confronted me made a big blow on my face. That's it. I got a big punch. And when I fell down and when I was about to wake up, he got a boot and then he put it on my face. And then next minute, the other policeman from the other 10-seater came down, got a brick, and then landed on my head.
Today, the former UPNG lecturer and father of 5 is unemployed due to the injuries he sustained from the brutal police attack.
No, while I'm speaking now, you see, half of my face is still numb. After injury, university terminated my contract. So it was a double trouble in my life. I have 5 kids, income was stopped. At the same time, university locked me and threw me out of the house.
Francis explained that he had pursued the case in 2014 and was told that the officers were arrested and charged.
The case was referred to OIC. And Nelson Kami is the director of the OIC IAU, and he promised me that policemen, the culprits, were arrested and charged.
But only recently he had found out that his case was not pursued, and the police officer who gruesomely attacked him and his nephews was still in the force.
He was telling me lies that police were arrested, police were dealt with.
This year he pursued the case with Internal Affairs Unit at Badili.
Director of Internal Affairs, Robert Ali, came on board with his team. Also asked Nelson Kami. Nelson Kami never produced one report to them after almost 2 years.
What the IAU found out was that the files of his case had vanished and that no arrest or investigation was done. Essie said the IAU pursued the case and recently arrested and charged the officer who threw the first punch.
Got the main culprit, which is Philip Bomal from Hola police station, where the guy came and punched me. First punch, I fell down. They got him, and right now he's charged, and 3 of charges of abuse of office, and they charged him for attempted murder and armed robbery.
But Essie still wants them to face the law, and if it means to be removed from their jobs.
And those who are involved with this crime, they have to face the brunt of the law. They have to face it. If it means for them to remove their uniforms and march on, they have to do it. And this is where I'm praying for, and I'm looking forward for these policemen to remove their uniforms, and they will be just common people like us.
Adelaide Kari National, EMTV News.
Women are encouraged to make their voices heard this election. This from a former candidate of Rigo Open, Miriam Lovai. Sarah Aupong caught up with her at a bus stop in Port Moresby.
Miriam was with her sisters, Bessie and Ade, on their way to a meeting. As a family, they are politically very active.
I stood in the last election, 2012. I didn't get much vote. I got men laughing down my face. I got phones telling me it's men's game.
In the last election, I took part with my husband. We stood to be a member. We didn't make it, but we went out there and educated people to vote.
This year, they, along with hopefully more women in PNG, will be voting.
I want to encourage women around Papua New Guinea, plus Rigo especially, because we are so, excuse me, we are so suppressed there that we need a voice. We need the change of leaders. We need services to be right down to the grassroots level. I'm not living in the village, no water.
We talk about violence against women, putting up laws against violence against women, but what is happening? We need a new government, a good government to establish and work on those laws so that women feel comfortable enough to seek help.
So I believe that women especially, women, girls must vote independently.
Voting to effect change is a sentiment shared by Kimberly, a young professional who unfortunately may not be voting this year. But she encourages others to vote.
The people have more power than they think. And it's a good thing to go out there and actually vote for the person that you think is right for that office. And if we don't vote, then the next 5 years we shouldn't complain about who's in power.
For Gaiso Aunama from Inland Abau, her vote this year is very personal and very close to her heart.
About inland mi plus left behind. Osem all member blow mi player. Emsa look lo coastal taso. So mi play like osem change.
And as one of only 2 women who contested in Rigo Open in the last election, Miriam is proud of the women who are contesting this year.
And I also want to congratulate them. The 8 women who are standing in Rigo, if they do not win, I still want to congratulate them because that's a bold stand.
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
Member for Rigo, Ano Pala, has blamed the district administration for the lack of service delivery in his district in the last 3 years. Mr. Pala revealed this when answering a question from a member of the public during his campaign in the Rigo Central Local Level Government. He also revealed 4 million kina is still unused and sitting in the Rigo District bank account.
Mr. Pala was in Tauruba village addressing the public on his policies. He allowed the gathering to ask him questions, and one of those questions was on service delivery in the district, to which he said,
"We have our funds coming in through the district, and for the last 3 years we've had problems delivering, mainly because of the district administration, which I have been fighting for the last 3 years. We have 4 million kina still in the account. We are probably the richest district in the country at the moment because 4 million has not been delivered and it's still in the account."
He said the 4 million kina will remain in the account until the government returns after the elections. Minister Pala then urged every village to get themselves organized and be receptive to services.
Every village must be organized. When you are organized, things will bypass you. If you are organized, things will come to you. Because every time we are trying to deliver, we have problems with people not working together. And unfortunately, part of the blame has to go to my office, where one of your staff, one of your sons was in my office and he couldn't work together with many of you. So we want to make sure. That is why I'm saying, I think we are ready to work together if we get back in again.
Tomorrow, Minister Pala will continue his campaign rally in the Rigo Central villages. Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
Leader of People's National Congress and Prime Minister Peter ONeill is confident PNC will lead and form the next government after polling. ONeill made the statement in Kavieng yesterday when supporting PNC candidate Martin Aini for the Kavieng open seat. The PNC leader also described recent comments by members of the opposition to change government policies as hot air politics.
The PNC leader visited the capital of New Ireland yesterday and was welcomed by members of the New Ireland provincial government, including the public. His presence was to show support for PNC candidate Martin Aini. Local Southern Highlanders in Kavieng brought home close to the Yalibu Pange MP from the airport through to town for Aini's campaign rally. Despite the recent politics with opposition member and sitting Kavieng MP Ben Micah, ONeill says candidate Aini will play a critical role in the next government formed by PNC.
Supporting him, I can guarantee you that he will play a big role in the next government. Big role in the next government. Martin Aini, the Niglig Biliblo Meal of 2011, na midlasanap one time. Midlasanap today, 2012, today midlasanap one time.
For Kavieng, ONeill clarified that Kavieng District has received its share of 40 million in 2016 with an outstanding 10 million to be released. He maintained that the national government has done its part in sealing the Buluminski Highway, including upgrading of the airport.
Fixing more school, fixing more housing, fixing more road. That is why we allocated this kind of funding to every district.
Martin Aini has also contested in 2012 under the PNC party. ONeill says if Aini is elected in this national election, Kavieng people can expect more support and leadership from PNC.
PNC will win the biggest number to form government. If I got the right policy to change him country, please make him sure Martin Aini is with us on that day. Thank you.
Aini's political bond with PNC was strengthened with an initiation. Jack Lopave Jr., National EMTV News.
Still in Kavieng, Prime Minister Peter ONeill dismissed a statement by opposition member Ben Micah to cancel the APEC summit. ONeill said the threat is just politics. He justified his statement, saying the APEC meet only runs for a couple of days, but will be effective enough to promote tourism and culture, as well as encourage skills transfer and local capacity development for Papua New Guinea.
Our country is starting to get the recognition with office. Plenty of leaders all around the world. Over the investment community of the world is thinking to come to invest in Papua New Guinea. No can think of some miplayet can tasol, but can have country blue. We need capital, we need investors, we need technology, we need education. That is why today we are living in a global world. Papua New Guineans must get their place in this world.
Here with National EMTV News. When we come back, reaction to US President Donald Trump's decision to withdraw the United States from the Paris Accord and more. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Environmental groups in the Pacific are incensed over Donald Trump's decision to pull the US out of the Paris Accord, an agreement that promises to reduce carbon emissions. Overnight, the Trump administration announced that the U.S. was withdrawing from the landmark agreement, stating that the accord did not consider economic impacts on the economy.
With new records for temperature being set around the world, and scientists saying that more warming will threaten the ice sheets and raise sea levels, nearly every country in the world agreed to try to cut the greenhouse gases that are heating the atmosphere. They came together amid jubilant scenes, ushering in the Paris Agreement, negotiated in 2015, the first global attempt to tackle climate change, a landmark deal that America has now dealt a major blow. Under the Paris Agreement, countries pledged to cut their emissions of carbon dioxide, the aim to limit the rise in global average temperature to 2 degrees, with the promise of $100 billion a year for poor countries to cope with the effects. So what does this decision by Donald Trump actually mean? Well, leaving the Paris Agreement is a 4-year process, but there'll be an immediate halt to US funding for UN climate projects. $2 billion is due by 2020. On the other hand, Mr. Trump has spoken of renegotiation, offering the prospect of re-entering the agreement, though that won't be easy, given some of his criticism of big players like China and India this evening. So will the deal survive? Well, the key may lie in renewable technologies like solar and wind, which have dramatically tumbled in cost. So, with or without the agreement, a low-carbon future may make sense anyway.
Back home, Papua New Guinean climate change activist Letin Drin says he will commence an 80-kilometer pilgrimage walk on the eve of World Environment Day celebration on Monday, the 5th of June. Drin from Manus is known for his radical advocacy campaigns. He will be carrying a 12-foot cross from downtown Port Moresby to Sogeri, promoting peace with nature.
This is Andrihin on one of his many peace walks in his home province, Manus.
People just wondering what I'm doing here, and they thinking that I was a crazy person or manikat legally siglo head plongem na karim bisla cross. So, but I feel that suppose all put him black blood inside or sublime, I think they'll understand what I'm doing. It's just about promoting peace with nature.
On Sunday, he commences a 5-day walk for up to 80 kilometers from the Climate Change and Development Authority office in downtown Port Moresby to the Sageri National High School and double back by Friday 9th of June. Andrihin created the Nature Peace Cross, as he calls it, to symbolize love, care, respect, peace and understanding God's creation. According to Andrihin, the Climate Change and Development Authority has supported his pilgrimage walk for the past 6 years, including this one. He says he hopes to make the Nature Peace Walk an annual event as an avenue for people to connect with nature. On Monday, he meets up with officers from the Conservation and Environment Protection Authority at the Varirata Park to launch World Environment Day celebrations under the theme Nature to Connect. Andrihin is widely known in the Pacific for his daring advocacy campaigns. In 2015, he narrowly avoided deportation from Fiji when he returned to the country 10 days and close to 2 kilometers into a similar 3-month peace walk. In 2012, he attempted to walk 5 million footsteps to raise 11 million kina in a bid to save the mangrove population in PNG. But probably his most radical act yet was turning himself over to police in Manus in 2014 to be locked up as a statement of support for climate action. Melissa Gaviro, National EMTV News.
A massive cleanup was underway at Varirata National Park at Sageri in Central Province in preparation for the World Environment Day next week. The World Environment Day is an annual event recognized and celebrated worldwide on the 5th of June. This day will address environmental issues including neighborhood cleanup to action and replanting of forests. Conservation Environment Protection Authority, or SEPA, with relevant stakeholders, UNDP, JICA, UPNG Forestry and schools will participate in the event this year. 6 schools in East New Britain Province have included a cocoa farming curriculum in their schools. The initiative was created by the Cocoa Board of Papua New Guinea to educate students about how to farm cocoa as a way of life. The PNG Cocoa Board hopes the curriculum, if implemented successfully, will address the high unemployment rate in the province and the country. Edwin Fidelis reports from Kokopo.
In 2015, the project called Cocoa Curriculum was introduced into 6 schools in various parts of East New Britain Province. The reason is centered around one word: unemployment.
Students leave school at
Dr. Arnold Parapi, who is behind this academic initiative, says they want to fill in the unemployment category, where it has grown in the province and in the country in the past few years.
Students leave school at grade 6 or grade 8, grade 10 or grade 12. Many, numbering to about 85% of our people actually leave school through the various exit points in the school system.
According to statistics provided by the World Bank, PNG's unemployment rate has grown to 2.6% in the last 2 years. The PNG government hopes to bring it down to below 2.5% by 2018 and onwards by creating more financial opportunities in the informal sector as well as in the mineral sector. The PNG Cocoa Board hopes the curriculum introduced will help to accommodate those who leave the formal education system to go back to their villages. Dr. Parapi says students who go back to the village need to support their own lives financially, and cocoa is one commodity that they can build their lives on.
Many of them are leaving to go to the villages. It is important that we as a responsible organization taking care of all cocoa matters in the country be able to provide the necessary knowledge and skills for our youth, so that when they go back to the villages, they can be able to make a living through cocoa as a way of life.
Dr. Parapi says the project is undergoing its first phase, where its performances in the 6 schools in East New Britain will be evaluated.
Our curriculum is actually targeting grades 6 to 8 in the upper primary classes, as well as grades 9 to 10 in high schools and grade 11 to 12 in the secondary schools.
It says they will be negotiating with the National Education Department to have the curriculum formally introduced into the PNG school curriculum, so that similar subjects can be taught in schools all over the country to cater to students who are considered by the education system as incompetent, and also others who finished from school and can't find a regular paid job. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
Grace Klembasa of West Sepik Province was awarded gold placing during the recent PNG Waragira Cocoa of Excellence show in Kokopo last week. Mrs. Klembasa's cocoa was judged the best from amongst 18 finalists selected from nearly 100 samples submitted from farmers right around the country. She was one of several female cocoa farmers whose cocoa samples attracted attention from the international judges during the Cocoa Festival. Mrs. Klembasa owns about 2,000 cocoa trees and is supported by her family. The silver award went to Kulkul Plantation on Karkar Island in Madang, while John Yalabing, a smallholder farmer of Lower Watut in the Moresby Province, was awarded the bronze placing. All three winners will have their cocoa samples enter into the International Cocoa of Excellence show in Paris later this year. And now a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3145 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.307 $0.4135 Australian dollars, €0.2706 and 33.88 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower, while coffee, cocoa and copra close the day lower. Crude oil is trading lower, while palm oil and copper close the day higher. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed 135 points higher, the ASX is trading 49 points higher, and the All Ordinary is 48 points higher. National EMTV News continues after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. The Center for Excellence in Financial Inclusion with its partners have launched a gender equity and social inclusion policy for microfinance institutions. The policy is designed to improve financial inclusion by strengthening the country's financial sector and effectively closing the gender gap in financial inclusion.
According to the central bank, an estimated 70 to 75% of the total population is excluded from access to the formal financial sector. Currently, only 40% of adults have a deposit or transaction account, and a lack of access to financial services for women compared to that of men is particularly dire. The bank's overall goal at the beginning of the first National Financial Inclusion Strategy 2014-2015 was to bank 1 million more unbanked low-income people, and 50% of those 1 million new deposit or transaction accounts should be owned by women. At the end of the first strategy period, more than 1.2 million new deposit accounts were opened. However, the percentage of new accounts opened and owned by women was only 26%. Therefore, the development of the Gender Equity and Social Inclusion Policy, or GESI, for microfinance institutions is a milestone towards full implementation of the Denarau Action Plan, a 10-point action plan committed to gender and women's financial inclusion.
Now, the policy itself stems from two main initiatives. One is the SPIRI, when Fiji hosted this AFI annual forum last year in Denarau. We made a commitment to bridge the gap on gender, and out of that policy or that commitment, we are the first one to come up with a policy particularly relating to gender.
The policy is a flagship initiative by the Center for Excellence in Financial Inclusion, the Asian Development Bank, and the governments of Australia and Papua New Guinea. Leanne Gerari, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
An 8-year-old girl surprised many when her logo design was selected by the Hela Provincial Health Authority ahead of 24 other submissions. Her ability to connect the traditional culture of Hela with modern healthcare themes has landed grade 4 student Jasmine Armitage a 500 kina check from the logo competition. The Hela Provincial Health Authority ran a province-wide competition last year calling for designs that incorporate both health and Hela themes. Jasmine was asked to explain the meaning of her logo to a large crowd gathered for the announcement, and she received huge applause for her articulate and clear explanation. Hela Provincial Health Authority's Director of Corporate Services, Elizabeth Boyd, said it was wonderful to have many young people get involved, demonstrating an interest not only in health but also the future of Hela Province. Trukai Sports is next. We preview Friday night football, snooker and rugby union. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with Rugby League. The Melbourne Storm will play Newcastle Knights in the first of tonight's NRL Round 13 doubleheader. The Knights are ranked last on the NRL Telstra Premiership points ladder, while their opponents sit comfortably in first place.
Cooper Cronk joins him.
There is no reason the Storm shouldn't win. They boast a stronger star-studded lineup and enjoy the comforts of playing at home in front of their fans on a Friday night. The Storm sit on top of the competition with a 9-2 record, despite sloppy performances at times.
Just lost his shape defensively, Papali.
Knights fans will be hoping the Storm decide to rest urgent stars Cameron Smith, Cooper Cronk and Will Chambers. Smith, Cronk and Chambers face the prospect of playing 3 games in 9 days, with Melbourne set to take on Premier's Cronulla Sharks in Sydney on June 8. It would probably be wise for the Storm to rest the trio, which could work in Newcastle's favour.
Flats! A flat ball that works!
Elijah Levitt, National, EMTV Sports.
To snooker, the current PNG National Women's Snooker champion Geward John is on track to win her 12th consecutive PNG National Snooker title. The mother of one from Porabada, outside Port Moresby, has not lost a frame since the 2017 National Gaming Control Board Women's Snooker titles queued off on Tuesday.
Geward John beat Pampatua Millikan 2-0 on the opening night and defeated Susan Dickey on Wednesday night by the same margin in the best of 3 frames at the Lumana Q Club. Meanwhile, not far behind John are Helen Samuel, Waisina Lahome Vare, Tanya Mosman Tam and Demeter Bray, who have also yet to lose a frame. Tournament director Joey Chan said last night's game saw the number 1 and number 2 of each group go head-to-head, which will determine the placings in each group. Also, the 3rd and 4th players in the group play each other, so it is still anybody's game, as only the top 2 from each group will advance into the last 16 after tonight's game. Former champion Angus Maui, Madeline Kaina, Dolly Berua, Jane Lagi, Raka Holt and Hane Vaeke are still in the running to make it to the last 16. Chan said the quarterfinals over the best of 5 frames will be played tonight. The semi-finals also over the best of 5 frames will be played at the Lumana Q Club on Saturday at 10 a.m. The final over the best of 7 frames starts at 3 p.m. with the presentation to follow straight after the final. Shane Saroya, National, EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. 21 local coaches this week set for their first Level 1 accreditation coaching course conducted by PNG Rugby Football Union and facilitated by PNG RFU Development Manager Sailosi Druma. Founder of NCD Rugby Football Union, Asigao No, says upskilling the coaches is a step higher to meet international requirements.
Facilitator from PNG Rugby Football Union, Silas Idruma, says the clinic is based on what the coaches should know when dealing with the players on and off the field during competition and skills required when coaching a team. He says modules taught to the coaches were online exams on how the structure of competition should look like, how to approach the team at a club level, and solutions to problems expected during a game.
So NCD RFU, they request to come and deliver this because they are a new association, newly aligned themselves to PNG RFU, so we've come here to deliver this course to try and upskill some of their new coaches since they're a new association.
Founder of NCDRU, Asigao Now, says the plan is to build capacity for the code. Apart from running a referees course a few weeks back, the union is bringing all its club coaches to upskill their coaching level on how well they know their job, a level higher as recommended by World Rugby. He says taking 2 sides of the coin, which are players and coaches, at least they can now have a clear understanding of their duties as coaches, players and referees, and knowing where they stand in terms of their obligations during an event.
It teaches the coaches on the theory aspect of it, from my opinion,
lines the coaches on how they can teach tackling techniques, racking, mauling, line-out, what you need to watch out for, and what you should be prepared to advise your players to do.
Joining the NCDRU and PNG Rugby Football Union was PNG High Performance to observe how the clinic was conducted. Some areas highlighted by PNG High Performance during the coaching clinic was approaching the development of players holistically and making sure that player nutrition is at required level.
At High Performance, we like to develop players holistically, so that covers both not only the technical and tactical side of coaching, but nutrition, player nutrition, strength and conditioning, sports medicine, and a couple other aspects that we like to develop athletes as a whole. So coaches get a bit more feel of who they're dealing with as people and as persons looking forward. Yep.
PNG Rugby Football Union will be in Daru Island in the next 2 weeks to conduct a similar program. Godwin Eki, National, MTV Sports. The Pacific Games Council will meet with the Tongan government in an attempt to persuade them to host the 2019 Pacific Games. This comes after Tonga announced its withdrawal from hosting the Games last month, saying that hosting the Games would be harmful for the small island nation's economy. Though Tonga's head of local organizing committee, Lord Sevele, said the Pacific Games Council is willing to have a sit-down with the government and work out best possible approaches towards hosting the Games. Next Monday has already been agreed to as the day both parties will meet. And that ends Trukai Sports. Up next, your weather details for the weekend. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Here's a look at the weather forecast for the weekend in the southern region. Port Moresby, cloudy with some showers expected. Cloudy for Popondetta as well, and Daru, fine, becoming cloudy for Kerma and Alatau. To the Momasa region, cloudy with some showers in Ley and Wau, fine, becoming cloudy for Medang and Wewak, fine, becoming cloudy as well for Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, fine, becoming cloudy for all the major centres, Lorengau, Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, cloudy with some showers expected, fine, becoming cloudy for Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg. To look at the forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours, but first there is a strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerma, Yule Island to Hood Point, including all Milne Bay and its islands, also Finchafen through Vitias Dampier Strait to Siasi Island, Long Island, as well as the westernmost part of West New Britain. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerma, Yule Island and to Hood Point, with waters of Hood Point to Samurai Island, waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas 2.5 to 3 meters, increasing to 3.5 meters. Waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel, with waters of Finchafen through Vitias Strait, Dampier Strait, including Siasi Island to Long Island, seas 2 to 2.5 meters, increasing to 3 meters at times. Waters northwest of Cape Vogel to Finchafen, seas 1.5 to 2 meters, increasing to 2.5 meters at times. Waters west of Long Island to Medang, Bogia, Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, and with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 1 to 1.5 meters, increasing to 2 meters over open waters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 1 to 1.5 meters. Waters of New Island to East New Britain and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters, and waters of West New Britain, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters, increasing to 2 to 2.5 meters over the westernmost part of West New Britain. And now look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral Sea, seas rough to very rough with southeasterly winds at 34 to 48 knots. Solomon Sea sees moderate to rough with southeasterly winds at 10 to 20 knots, reaching 25 to 34 knots south of degrees. Bismarck Sea sees slight to patches rather rough with southeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots, reaching 20 to 25 knots west of 147 degrees east. And the Pacific Ocean sees slight to moderate with east to northwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that's the way it is tonight, Friday, the 2nd of June 2017. On behalf of the EMTV News team, have a pleasant weekend. Good night.